like our grandparents' generation and before that, how tough it was for people to survive, to make it, to come to another country, and all of these difficult things, and working 4 or 5 jobs with no money, going through a war, depression. Life was way harder than it is today. I mean, today compared to that is not even, it's like two different worlds. But at the same time, these kids, the things they're going through now, it's a totally new frontier. And maybe the things they're going through aren't as difficult, getting a bunch of likes or being left out, and not included by the group of friends, that kind of thing. But it's the hardest thing they've ever known. And it's the hardest thing they've ever experienced. And just with the changing times and all the, the different views that people have politically, and what's happening in schools, of how it's just such a difficult time to be a kid, and such a difficult time to be a parent. And I'm having all these conversations every week, so some of these things, and hearing these crazy things from parents and moms, usually moms. And but it hits different when it's your own family, and it's your own flesh and blood, and it's your own nephews and brother and sister-in-law. And so I'm just so grateful that we're able to have these conversations, and talk about these things of, hey, these sometimes they lie to us, they don't want to share. And like you said, I loved is, okay, maybe sometimes they're hiding something because they don't want to get in trouble, but other times they're hiding things where it's like they just don't want, they're such a good kid, they have such a good heart, they don't want mom or dad worrying about them. And I see that in a lot of the kids that we're working with.
Yeah. I see it in my own kids.
Yeah.
Because for those of you who don't know, I just mentioned my husband's been on a ventilator, and especially one of my kids is very like, she just doesn't, she just keeps it in. She doesn't want to tell me because she doesn't want me to worry about her. So, and that's where that's where the importance of the relationship really comes up, of knowing your child and being able to tell, something's not right here, and being able to have a conversation as opposed to, what's going on? You're lying. I know you're not telling the truth. And when we come from a place, and, we all know what assuming is, but if we work under the assumption that your child is a good person and wants to do good, usually, if you work under that assumption, I find that most of the times when I catch my kids in lies, it's not okay to lie. But when I hear their justification and their reasoning, I can understand why they thought it was actually a good idea. And then we'll have that conversation. I get that you didn't want to hurt my feelings, or you wanted to, do something you didn't think I'd like, or whatever. But empathizing with them when you catch them in a lie is really important, because they come from it from their own standpoint of view. And if you tell them that they're wrong, they are immediately going to put that block up. Mom, dad, they don't understand me. I can't talk to them. If you can empathize and say, wow, you know what? I don't like that you lied, and I can understand your thinking process, then that's really going to help have a closer relationship.
It's funny how a lot of the same themes come up a lot, and how important and big is empathy. And that's something that I'm working on in my own life, of like my initial gut reaction is like, oh my gosh. And I think a lot of people feel this way about the younger generation. It's like, they're so soft. They can't handle a joke. They can't handle someone that has a different viewpoint or an idea. They think it's violence if they don't agree with you. And you're like, oh my gosh, how are you going to survive in the real world? And that's why so many people are having these meltdowns when they actually have to go out to college. They have to go out and get their first job. What do you mean I'm not the perfect person who's, could be a model and, 100% on every score, and I don't get the job just handed to me? And so it's this interesting thing of, for me, from my perspective, like, okay, well, I don't know what it's like to grow up and have your whole life be on your phone and on social media. Yeah. And have no privacy, and have the biggest adversity you've ever faced be, hey, the AC isn't working today and it's a little hot in the car, or cold.
And the pandemic. So we can talk
Yes.
about how traumatic the pandemic was for most children and a lot of adults. But yeah,
So,
empathy is really key. There's a saying that I just love. It's, if I were you, I would react like that too. It sounds like a poem, but it's not. If
Yeah.
I were you, I would react like that too. What does that mean? That means if you had all the same thoughts and perspective that the other person has, in this case, your child, you absolutely would react the same way. If you had the same thoughts, the same beliefs, the same interpretations, the same perceptions, you would react the same way. So when you can say that from a place of love and empathy, then at least you can get on the same playing field. Then you can have a conversation. Then you can have a conversation about what are they saying to themselves? You know, I've probably said this 1,000 times, but if you could stick a microphone in your brain, what are you saying to yourself? And asking your kiddos, what are you saying to yourself that made it okay to be dishonest, right? Or that justified in your mind this lie, this way of, you know, what you told me, because then you can really understand their thought process. And when you can understand their thought process, then you can help them work through their thought process, because their thought process probably wasn't very accurate. Most of our thoughts aren't, right? We have 65,000 thoughts every single day. Most of them are subjective, not objective facts, but subjective perceptions, interpretations, truly our own beliefs. So if we can understand where they're coming from, then we can help them maybe see things in a different way, which will help them not just today, but will give them those problem solving skills that we've talked a lot about. They'll give them the problem solving skills so that they can use those in the future.